Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet and do the business of the city of Aztec. Please be with these commissioners as they go about making decisions for the citizens and the people of Aztec. Please be with those who aren't here tonight, bring them back safe. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Berger.
Here.
Commissioner McClure.
Here.
Commissioner Randall.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers. And Mayor Pro Tem Cypher absent.
Okay, thank you. Next is the agenda approval. Items placed on the, I'm sorry, you back up. If there are any items on this evening's agenda that need to be removed from discussion tonight, now would be the time to do so. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve the agenda as given.
Okay.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this evening's agenda as given. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, next we'll move into citizen recognition. Mr. Ray?
I do not have anything for this one, Mayor,
Okay,
or for employee recognition.
we don't, okay.
I didn't see
No,
Bob.
signed a yard of the month thing. Okay, he just is walking out.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that next time. How's that? Okay, so employee recognition.
None.
None.
I haven't been at work, so I can't really recognize anyone.
Okay, moving on into the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted on with one motion. If there are any items that do not meet the approval of a commissioner, that item may be pulled and discussed under items from the consent agenda. Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this evening's consent agenda as listed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, there are no items from the consent agenda. We'll move into citizens' input. If there is anyone here who would like to address the commission this evening on any item not on the agenda, you may have up to 3 minutes to do so. We do need you to sign at the clerk's table to your right. Thank you. Okay, and we have Ms. Kim Gilkey. Please come up to the podium. Good evening.
Yes, my name is Kim Gilkey. I live at 405 Lovers Lane, and I'm here out of concern about the irrigation, the culvert that was repaired. It has caused the diversion of water to where I live on the north side of the street. And I also own property on the other side of me at 407. This diversion of water has, we get everything. And being that the monsoon is kind of coming on, the flooding issue is a real concern. We have a few sandbags out front, but cars, because that street is so narrow, the cars, just zoom on by, and just a wave of water comes over and into the yards. And there again, the concern is flooding. And I know two other individuals, Zachary Pettyjohn and Mrs. Bisbee up the street, have voiced their concerns as well. We're all concerned as to whether or not the problem is going to be rectified. And in the meantime, what is your recommendation to prevent any problem?
Okay. So,
If you don't mind, Mayor, I can answer a couple things from today. We were actually out there on the property today, and we were walking the street for a couple hours in the ditches.
Okay.
What we are going to do is take some additional sandbags down there. The Public Works crew's still working on another proposal on the street, so getting that Lovers Lane corrected has been great. One of the issues we see is that there are only a couple culverts at the very end of the street that water's going to catch once it gets there. So the lower Animas ditch, they're working on on the ditch. They're working on solidifying those walls all the way down, so that's a positive. But right now, it's very full still, not from the rain, but from where they stop the water and then letting the water back out. Our crews will be out there working on the road. We were out there meeting with Mr. Petty John today, as you referenced, and then with Ernest Smith. So we've been on all the properties. Hopefully, part of this next repair will provide some relief as well for that road, for some of the crowning that's putting the water off. I still think part of that concern is going to be rolled curb, and as the properties are set below the street level, that's going to be an issue.
right.
And then with traffic, as long as, if someone's going within the speed limit, even in rain, they're going to cause a lot of that water to go off. So we will deliver some additional sandbags. Maybe that'll help for some relief.
That would help immensely, as you're, like you said, the grades on most of these properties are lower than the street, so consequently, it's just, it's a real concern. If
405, that's,
405 and
407.
407.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
we'll get those together and we'll get them over to you this week.
That sounds great. Thank you.
However fast we can load sand in the bags, we'll get them over. Because
Yes.
we're going to have to take anywhere from 60 to 100 bags just for Lover's Lane.
I know.
Hope you got some bags, because
Yeah.
I'll find them. I know where the sand's at, and we'll start
Yeah, I
getting
know
them
where
in.
Santa's at, too.
That'll take us longer, but we'll get those over to you.
Yeah, that would be great, and I'm sure the others that go along that street are concerned as well, but I can't necessarily speak for them. They're
Okay.
either rental properties or vacant, so, but it's just a concern as to causing, we don't want to cause more problems to the next guy over,
Right.
if there's some way we can divert water, not only out of our yards, but to keep that from going into theirs as well. That
Great.
would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Clifford. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, we have no one else signed up for citizens input, so that brings us to business items. Business item A is RFP 2016-540, Utility Cost of Service and Rate Study Award.
Mayor, this item is something we've been talking about now for actually a few years. Ken's been talking about it louder than everyone else, but we have been saying that it's something very important for us to review our rate structure, to review our expenditures, our revenues, and to see where our utilities are at. We've worked for the city's worked for about 10 years trying to ensure that all of our utilities are operating efficiently, that being water, wastewater, electric, and our solid waste collection services. So as we've talked about this and as we've completed some projects, and with the sewer outfall line finally going out to bid and us having a hard number for what that project should cost, we went ahead and moved forward with requesting proposals. We have talked about price. You see the price in the staff summary. There are two proposed prices that you have in your staff summary. The original proposal cost is for the $113,010. That is for all four utilities. And then the amended proposal cost says less the sanitation. That amounts $108,240. The sanitation, simply put, we asked this question in the interview of the firm that's here. We asked the question, what would the sanitation review process include? We were asking if they would provide any level of insight outside of X number of customers, X number of cost, this is what you should charge for the service. And directly the answer was no. They weren't going to provide any. They had actually recommended we contact an outside party outside of their firm to discuss any of the options available to the city of Aztec. So in our discussions, we went back to them and asked for a new cost proposal minus that sanitation portion based on the few hours that they were going to put into it. So that's why you have the two numbers there. Yeah, a whopping 5,000. But in their presentation, that's really all it sounded like they were going to put towards it anyway, was a basic statistical analysis. There was 5 or 6 of us in the interview process, and we vetted them, I think, extremely well, asked them a lot of direct questions in terms of the cost, the overall service, and the fact that what we're looking for in terms of the final product. We need something that we can turn back around, show our citizens and our customers what our costs are, how they're allocated separately, and then why our rates are what they are, how we can move rates one direction or the other to ensure long-term efficiency and effectiveness of each individual utility. So We're confident with this firm. We know that they have a lot of expertise. We've researched some of their projects. We've actually talked to a couple of their references. Not that we weight the references because they wouldn't be references if they were going to say something bad. But we did that just for due diligence. Everything seems positive with the firm. We have talked amongst ourselves in terms of the price and the amount. Ballpark, we were expecting anywhere from 100 to 120,000. I had wanted anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000, but obviously that wasn't going to cut it. So this is our recommendation and our proposal for the utility cost of service study.
I have a question, Mayor. On this agreement, or draft of an agreement under, well, number one is scope of work, number two is compensation, so it's the same thing. I guess I was a little confused about this amount is a maximum and not a guarantee that the work assigned to be performed by the contractor under this agreement shall equal the amount stated herein.
What section are you at so I can read with you?
2.
Number two,
Page 1 of the
compensation.
contract.
Page 1, section 2. Forgive me one second. Page 1, section 2.
And it's in the bold. It's like the second
It's
sentence
the
in
bold.
So what, in terms of the contract, this is a shall not exceed amount. So we're not going to look at a bill of 120,000 because they got into it and said, well, we couldn't execute the utility electric side for what we said, so it's a not to exceed instead of an hourly basis.
I understand, but I think where my confusion came for is, to me, it kind of reads, and maybe you can clarify this. To me, it reads, well, once we hit that 108,000, we're stopping. And what if they're only halfway through what this contract says that they're going to do?
If I may,
Larry.
Commissioner, if you look at the last sentence, it indicates in no event will a contractor be paid for services in excess without the agreement being amended in writing prior to those services.
I know.
So,
And then it would have to come before commission, but what I'm saying is, we're doing this 108,000 cost thing, and if the contractor only gets halfway through, and we say, but we need then the rest of it, it'll come back to commission, and that's kind of how I'm reading this, instead of it being a guarantee that we will do 99% of what we've proposed. To me, it's just kind of out there.
Contract, I mean, that's, you're going to have the same problem if you have a set contract, a contractor. Matter of fact, we fired one contractor about 2 years ago. If they come in and don't do the work, or don't do a sufficient percentage of the work, and bill us, we're going to be in the same position on a solid, contract for, this is a do not exceed contract. If we got to fire a contractor or sue a contractor, we're going to have to fire them or sue them. And so I think on this type of do not exceed contract, I've looked it over, the language is standard for this kind of a contract. And if the contractor comes in and doesn't perform, again, we either got to fire them or sue them or both.
So we're getting monthly reports on this, then, do you know?
Just almost, based on the plan of work.
Is it?
It's in here, yeah.
Okay. Just don't want any surprises, you guys, at the end of this, like,
More than monthly, aren't
like,
they?
uh-oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it'll be another 100,000.
It's more frequently than monthly, even that they'll be reporting.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to see, because that wording, and especially because it's in bold, it just seems like, yeah, well, if we don't get it done, we'll just come before commission again. Not that that hasn't happened, but, yeah.
I have a question also, Mayor. It says in there, it does say there was a lot of, what's it say, attention or inquiries from multiple consultants across the nation, but only one proposal was received. Did they say why? Or they never respond? They just
didn't submit a proposal.
they called and asked and were interested, but then no proposals even showed up. And it was out there a long time too.
It was out there for quite a while.
Yeah. That's the only part I don't like, is not having anything to compare it to, but you said you guys were expecting between 100 and 120, I mean, just off of what other
From
cities
previous
said,
rate
or-
studies,
or
looking at
previous
other rate studies. And our concern, we said this on other projects as well, in terms of, it's interesting when you get contractors that call and they're interested and they're asking questions and they're asking lots of questions, and then they're posting questions and getting these answers, and they're going through due diligence, and then they fail to submit a proposal. I mean, I still don't understand that. I don't understand why you put in that, but maybe that's just what you do as your due diligence to
That's
determine
part
if
of
you're
their
going to.
vetting process.
Right, and so, I mean, I think similar to this one, we definitely don't like a process where we only receive the one.
It's a bit of a side note, but did you ever engage in conversation with the city manager from Durango about the contractors?
On what they're getting?
Uh-huh.
We have, we talked
Okay.
about
Okay.
the number of contractors they were getting versus the,
Well, and the bids coming in high?
Yes.
Okay. Because Durango's economic development entity reached out because they were hearing that our contractors were bidding lower than what they were getting in Durango, and my initial response was, that's not what we've seen. We've had one company out of Colorado who actually underbid everyone else, but otherwise, everything's high, and they're having the same issue. And so-
and then looking at the sewer outfall line, you look at where they're coming out of,
Right.
well, way south. I mean, that's the difference of projects, but I'm telling you, it continues to be hit and miss in terms of how many proposals we get on these projects. What we chose to do, instead of just going out for rebid on the process, we chose to go ahead and interview them and then decide whether or not we had that confidence in their abilities by looking through their proposal and looking at that in the interview. And that's where I wanted to stress that. Okay. From our knowledge and the question set that we ask, we feel confident that they have a team that can complete the job as requested. Interesting, we went through each member of their proposal, their team, their project team, and we questioned the number of hours each person was going to spend, because they did provide that as a breakdown. And so they show the technicians, the lower level, performing the majority of the hours, and then the senior level performing the oversight and the analysis section of it, and basically the written section. But luckily, the lower
Are doing the majority.
the lower priced individuals are doing the work to get it there. But the interpretation, as we said, we need to get the ones that are costing us $108,000 to give
Make
us
sure
the,
they're looking this over, yeah.
right, with their final product.
Yeah, as long as you guys were confident in the meeting, so that's my main, there was no, oh, we gotta get it done, we gotta get the rate study done. It was,
No, we're not
Still
pressed
good
on the
about it.
rate study. We would love to have it completed soon, but we're not pressed on the, hey, we have to get this, so we're stuck with them. And if anyone had that discomfort, then we would
okay.
go with the wishes of commission and go back out.
Very good.
Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, move to approve the award and contract with Raftellus Financial Consultants Incorporated for RFP 2016-540, utility cost of service and rate study.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, next is city manager, commissioner, and attorney reports. Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Mayor. Two things. Do want to report that today is Ed's birthday. He doesn't really care that it's his birthday, and probably not going to look at you because I'm saying it, but it's definitely his birthday. He can't change it whatsoever.
Is that what this cake is for?
Right, yeah. So
Ed's a Leo, huh?
the more times I say it, the more he'll get frustrated and probably throw something at me, but I guarantee,
Is it Ed's birthday today?
I think it's Ed Cotique's birthday.
All right.
Which is something that's been verified.
Koytk.
Right.
Okay.
Verification
All right.
approved. I'm
Tell him get that.
The second thing is, I did go through, and I wasn't here during the storm this weekend or during the rain this weekend, but I have been out all day today, and our crews have been out. I think we really only had one area where you could report that something was a blowout, or a system that didn't work, not because of the engineering or because of the system, but because the other factors have tied in that it just, I don't know how that one area is ever going to work. But the other areas, in walking them and talking to the different people, Commissioner Randall was there for a meeting on Blanco today, and the systems, how they were cleaned, they worked. Now, they need to be re-cleaned after every type of rain, it seems, and couldn't tell you to how much depth and width and all that at this point, but for the rain, a lot of those systems were very successful. There's dirt in the road, that's good. There's sandbags out, the sandbags in these locations worked. The bad thing is that they're still sandbags. They're not aesthetic retaining walls and trees and rocks and all, but it's just good to know that for for the couple of rains we had from Wednesday through Saturday, we had happy people looking for what's next. What are the long-term solutions, even with concerns about short-term rain? So I think I think Watson said this morning, maybe only an inch of rain in that period of time for the main downpour. But as we reported, 1 inch is significant. 4 inches is apparently 500 years. 2.5 inches is 100 years. So that's our numbers. So 1 inch, albeit just 1 inch, is still significant in our system, in our city.
Okay, what was that again? 4 inches is 500?
4 inches,
2.5 is 100?
yeah, 4.4 inches turned out to be the 500, so the
Okay.
2.5 to 3 inches turns out to be 100. Yeah, that's the magnitude of the flow from the two storm events that we have in the interpretation. So, I mean, that 1 inch is going to be the norm for a big rain, not a sprinkle. So, it was, for most parts, handled, and we'll continue looking through the rest of the week, look at these spots. I know we have a meeting tomorrow to check a specific community area, and then we'll report back. Watson and I are going to look at some of these things we saw today, tomorrow, and then we'll move forward with those. If you hear of an area, let us know, and we'll go out and check them.
Can I say something to that, or ask a question
Sure.
to that? The people that are doing the study, do they come out, I mean, is this something that they should come out and look real quick, just kind of get a first-hand view of what this much rain did, or is it?
The only thing they can see,
Did they really-
and the problem with theirs is we can send them the videos, just like Jason Thompson's video today, and the video from Spotted Wolf. Any videos we have, we can gladly send it to them, but what they're doing is modeling it as well
still
now.
model, okay.
So, and that's why our Public Works crew is measuring the water levels. That's why we need to make sure every time it rains, we get a measurement for whatever that's called, whatever you catch the water in,
Rain
a cup and an inch. Thank you, a rain gauge. That's high-tech technology.
Very high-tech,
I'm
yeah.
not an engineer. Public Works came with that themselves, at their gauge. And another thing that they're doing is they've been taking pictures. So we're documenting the culverts, the ditches, the arroyos, we're documenting that through pictures and the depth to see where it's at pre-rain and post-rain. And so we're sending that information to these guys. Because again, if they're not here
Right.
2 hours after the rain,
Right.
it's gone. And so they mobilize and they get here, and then we're showing them, hey, we promise you this.
There was
is
water here.
Right, look at this video. This video
It's
took
just
place
dirt,
here.
But there was water.
So what we do is we're documenting those locations, sending that so that they can document it inside of their model in case it'll change their model any. So, like I said, if anything you see, let us know, and if anybody has a video, just like the Ford Pollard video shows,
It's raining outside.
it was narrated. It was narrated for us, and so it
I heard
shows
that, yeah.
lots of water gushing over top of a road, and they can't now out. But that's just where it's at. So
Okay,
that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
all right. I have no report this evening. Commissioner Brackett?
I do have something to report. I went to the COG meeting last week, and I got a fancy report.
Nice.
That, you know,
Was that 3,000 worth?
Yeah, pretty close. It was cool. I did. Yeah, it was color nice, double page. Yeah, it was really cool. They liked the new officers and stuff. I was more impressed with the School of Energy where it was at. I mean, that was an awesome building that I hadn't been at before. But yeah, I mean,
Did you learn anything?
yeah, kind of. It was more of they went over their whole, what they've done. And one thing I did notice, and they had the whole financial page out and shows what entities give how much and everything. And of course, we're the low. I think,
Are we the lowest?
yeah, we're the only one given 3. And it was.
Farmington was 3 or 5.
Yeah, here it is right here. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, might as well. We're talking
Because
about.
Farmington was saying that they were doing 5, or 3 the other day.
Farmington did 5. This isn't confidential or anything.
Nope, it's public knowledge.
No, city budgets are public knowledge.
Well, because I kind of got frustrated at the beginning because they kept going on about all the work. Like, this whole thing is full of stuff that they're doing in grants and Gallup and
Yes.
on and on. It's like, well, that's great. That's why we don't like you guys, because you don't give us a whole lot. Well, no, I mean, just.
Glad they didn't give you the microphone.
Well, I was getting really frustrated, but then you look, and it's like, well, wow, Cibola County gives them 25,000, McKinley 65,000,
But what does San Juan County do?
San Juan County gives them 20,
Okay,
but which is still, almost same as Cibola, but Aztec's 3,000, Bloomfield's 10, Farmington's 5, and then the city of Gallup is another 65,000.
this is last year's numbers.
Yeah,
Yes.
this was FY17 budget,
Oh, okay.
their budget for, so
Gotcha.
so after that I was like, oh, okay, well, we don't Gallup, but we don't pay. I don't know. I was still frustrating, but now it's like, wow, that's why this thing's full of stuff and for the city of Gallup and all the stuff they're doing there, because they're giving them.
Which is the catch-22 with the COG.
I
Do we
guess.
send them more money and hope we get more
And hope we
services?
get more- yeah, well-
Or do we get some kind of?
But you'd have to give them a ton of money to get most of it. That's what it seems, I mean, I just,
That's- But I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, that's the catch-22, is
Right.
that, okay, so it's kind of like the chicken or the egg question. Do you know what I mean? How do we get more services? Do we just send them a boatload more money and hope we get better services?
no, I don't agree with that.
Or do we,
It seems like we're paying almost like a membership fee to be able to, like you said, on those
Right.
federal grants and stuff, you know.
To get-
Yes, we're part of the Council of Governments, we can check that box
Right.
and we get a chance to get more funding. It's like
well,
a-
and as I've thought about this more and more, and Josh and I had a conversation earlier about this also, that, I don't know, I mean, it makes me wonder, do we need to present to them, look, if you really want more funds, then actually put together a proposal and give us services that we actually need.
And we've asked them that for the past 3 years.
Gotcha.
Show us what you can
There
do.
you
if
go.
we're-
Well,
Which what it
They're
seems
really
like to
paying
me.
attention, I see.
Right, they've sent us
Exactly.
a number of proposals.
they're not hungry enough to
The
provide
proposal
us what
says,
we need.
send us more money.
Right, and
And
we-
here's the letter, and thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, pretty much send us more money and we'll put a staffer in San Juan County.
And I
I
kind
mean,
of,
that's the,
yeah, and I kind of mentioned that too. They said, well, we have our menu of services that you can choose from.
right.
But it's a menu, I think, to where there's no prices listed,
Right.
but
It's one of those
I
restaurants.
hate those kind of restaurants.
I don't go in those places.
I was gonna say,
Those are
McDonald's
risky.
has a menu too, but I don't go there.
exactly.
It's kind of-
But the thing, it's like, well, you know,
It's not-
and you do get what you. I just wanted to kind of.
No.
But we did elect,
It made me feel
um,
better that we're on the low end, which
former County Commissioner Glodine Chertini is the new chairman for the
Yes.
COG for this time. Even though she's not a county commissioner now, she's now the chairman for 2 years, 4 years?
I can tell you. Not right now.
But that is, I mean, it doesn't sway the actual membership, but it does sway some discussion. So when the discussion comes up with the COG and we have those comments, then she's our representative there, so it's very nice.
How many
Yes.
years? Any idea?
Yeah, it was 4. It's not listed here, but I remember them saying it was 4. And they did, I don't know if anyone cares, but yeah, so Glow Jean's the chair, Genevieve Jackson was the first vice chair, and then Julie Quintana, which I don't know if you met her in any of the previous meetings, she was thrown in at the last minute and got the second vice chair, so, which I didn't know any of them, but they seemed very interested and happy with what they were going to do. So, I mean, it seemed like a good meeting. They seemed like they knew what they were doing fairly smoothly. They started very late, and I was upset about that.
It did start very
But,
late,
like,
like
30
an hour
minutes.
late.
Yeah, at least 30 minutes before they even like came in and
Right.
sat down, and I was very frustrated. I think I texted you. I was a little frustrated. But then I did stay for the speaker,
Did you?
Mr. Siebenoller,
Siebenoller. Mhm.
and that was, and he kind of rushed through. But he had a more in-depth, we had the other meeting, the economic development meeting that he spoke at?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I got to hear him 3 times that
3
day.
times, yeah.
Yes.
So,
So, do you want to share what his message was, or do you want me to?
you can go with that. I mean, it kind of put me down because he said he's an ex-petroleum engineer.
He's also an ex,
He's an ex-what
Oh, training
engineer?
Really. Anyways, but
What kind of engineer?
petroleum engineer.
yes, he stated he was both a former petroleum engineer and a former train engineer, and
The latter having more weight.
Lionel trained.
Choo-choo.
it was
I
interesting.
shouldn't say that, no.
However,
Yeah, he just he doesn't have a very positive look for. You said the downturn. Everyone's saying it's going to come back, but he did say it's never going to come back the way it was
Right.
in his mind, and that it is very important to look for alternative
Right.
jobs and energy and things like that, which
right.
I think the state knows that now.
His bigger message, though, maybe you had to attend all 3 sessions.
Yeah, no.
to get it. I don't
I
know.
did leave early because I had to get back to work.
His bigger message, though, so Mr. Siebenoller is, like we said before, he's the Economic Development Administration representative out of the Austin office, which is our region. And so he's been recently promoted to this integration person. And so what he's proposing is to use San Juan County as a test base, for lack of a better way to put it, to actually try doing a project where he comes together with this integration piece. So previously, federal grants, like each agency has their own pot of money and their own programs, and nobody really knows what anyone else has. So unless you study up on that specific agency, you're not going to know. And so a lot of the other agencies, HUD has it, Department of Labor, Department of Defense, a myriad of others that actually have pools of money and programs for economic development, but they're not under the Economic Development Agency.
Well, of course.
And so that's, so now his job is to officially cross those bridges and say, okay, I've identified this other pool of money in this other program that we can use for whatever project gets put forward. And so that's why he was here, and that's what he's working on. Is that you?
No, it's not mine.
So
It's not my phone.
His his big proposal when he was here was encouraging the Four Corners region, which means the COG region, okay, so McKinley and Cibola County along with us, to host a forum where we invite our federal delegation and representatives from all of these federal agencies that have these pots of money and sit down at the table and say, here are our needs. How can you help us? Where do you have funding that fits what our needs are? So that was his basic, apparently that didn't come through very well, did it?
No, it did. Well, and then didn't he say something about the Four Corners is unique to where, because each region
Right.
is like,
We have 3 different economic development
yeah,
regions.
like they all meet at the same corner. Like he's out of Austin, but it has New Mexico, but then someone else is Colorado.
Right, someone's out of Denver for that region,
Yeah.
and someone covers Utah and Arizona.
So but we're all like in the same spot, but there's 3 different guys that,
Right, and because we're on the fringe of all of those regions, nobody really pays much attention
Right.
to us. And so that's what he's trying to do,
Bringing
is pull
those
that
in, too,
together.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of. I was eating too.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway, so he's wanting to do that like within the next couple months.
Couple months. Oh, I didn't
Yes.
get that much.
Yeah. That was those other 2 sessions.
The other 2 sessions, right? So, but yeah, it was a interesting luncheon meeting. It was a chicken parmesan. If anyone was wondering for the meal, it was pretty good. But yeah, no. And then, like Josh said, I did meet today with Jason Thompson on Blanco and talked with him. And like Josh said, everyone seems happy that it did better than no one flooded too bad or anything. But it needs to be maintained and cleaned out because it just brought more silt down with it. And like Josh said, there's really no. What do we do other than just maintain and keep digging it out? I mean, because the more it fills up, the more it's going to flood downstream.
And that's the scary part. Thinking about long-term management of
Right.
this is just, there's so much more sand up
There's a
there.
lot of sand, yeah, upstream. That's what I was trying to go over in my head is how do you
How do
other
you
than cleaning it
handle
out,
that?
even if you like cement the whole thing, it's still, everything's going to come down and fill that up. So my one
Share
question
my
though,
FSE?
FSE,
Yeah, I learned a new term about flood control, and it's called FSE. And so, forgive
Is there
me in
an
advance,
expletive in
Bill,
this?
okay? I'll explain this acronym. So, for the past 50, 60 years, flood management has been build a straight channel and ship it down past you as fast as you can. Flood someone else.
that's someone else, FSE.
Oh. Can you add that to that official list, please,
Just an
Josh?
acronym.
Well, that's what we operate with,
All right.
is the plan, so.
It's just-
All right.
Anyway.
And I guess a question too, and I'm see that she left. I didn't know. Was she referring to the ditch? I mean, was something that happened with the new culvert caused them to flood more on Lover's Lane, or was it just
It's just a different drainage
Just
pattern with the work
a different
done, right?
pattern? Right? She made it sound like it was more splashing into her
road.
yard than really.
Oh, gotcha. So with going down, so when we had to raise that culvert, it does create a higher spot in the middle of that road where the culvert's at, because we enlarged that size.
Right.
And so that water, there's still a peak in the middle of the road. And so water on the high side, water on the low side, the water is going down from that peak, going down to the low side of the road.
But it's still water coming down Lover. It's not so much the ditch backed up because the culvert was small. Is what I was trying to
Yeah,
think
it's not
of.
the-
Okay, because that's
not
what
the
I was
ditch.
kind of getting. She said it caused it to divert more.
Well, what actually happens is that the culvert is flat.
Right.
So, because it's concrete across the street, so the crown has actually been taken away where the culvert crosses the street.
Mm-hmm.
And we have discovered with our magic GPS instrument that there is a variation in the gutter on the south side. So we've ordered some concrete teeth for our mill machine. And we're going to mill off the south side in an effort to keep the water on the south gutter.
Okay. Just make the gutter deeper with the teeth, or
Yes.
okay.
So that's the plan to start with. That's our first effort. If that doesn't work, we'll come up with an alternate plan.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it was
But we didn't really have the
Regular.
choice because the concrete, the culvert has to be flat on
Mhm.
the surface because of the size of the culvert, we had to raise the culvert up so that it passed more water under the culvert. that made us have to drive on top of the culvert.
Mhm.
So there's no street on top of the
Right,
culvert.
it's just the culvert.
Right.
So that there's no crown in the road going over the culvert. So right there, the water has a tendency to cross over to the north side if it's a lesser storm. If it's a full-blown
Just,
gushing storm, it tends to stay on the south side.
okay.
But we're going to make an effort to force it to stay on the south side, even during the small event.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear, it wasn't, the way she described it, it wasn't the culvert, it wasn't from the ditch overflowing because of the culvert, it was water already draining down the street and the culvert diverting the water on the street already.
Yeah.
Okay.
We made the culvert big enough to handle the
The
water.
ditch was fine.
Yeah, because,
Okay,
well, and that was really dictated by the ditch company.
right. Okay. All right, that's just what I want to make clear
Okay.
for the record on that, so minutes and everything. And that is all I have to report.
I really don't have anything. The Mac and Cheese Festival is this Saturday at Riverside Park from 2 to 6. Mac, cheese, more mac, more cheese, and then topped with a little mac and cheese. And, oh yeah, beer and wine tasting. So this is the first time this event's going to be here in Aztec, so if you can, come on down. That's it.
They have provided 50 pounds of cheese to each person with a booth. So if you're doing a booth, if it's a restaurant, they give you 50 pounds of cheese to make your, whatever you're making. That's a lot of cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what 50 pounds of cheese looks like,
Right.
but in my head,
Right.
it's a lot of cheese.
I just used 2 pounds the other night on mac and cheese that I made, so, yeah. it's
Could have
not
brought it
bad.
to taste it tonight, but nope, 50 pounds worth.
3 pounds.
Mr. Thrower.
I have nothing.
All right. That takes us to department reports.
Look at him running up here.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, if there are no department reports, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.